Radhikacharya Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Skandi Diti Pandavacharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Samagata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Hari Ram Sankirtan Ki Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Gauranga. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the Supreme Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental song, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swastyayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantha, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Sri Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, to be all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Surabhyaya Namaha 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 Mukam karoti vacanam tvagam langayate girim yatripatam vande Shri Gurum Dinadaram yatripatam vande Shri Gurum Dinadaram. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam class, continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 3, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And today we are reading text 22. Nara Devatam Apana Sura Karya Chikirshaya Samudra Nigrahadini Chakre Viryani Ataha Param Naradevatamapana Surakarya Chikirshaya Samudra Nigrahadini Chakre Viryanyata 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 Param Naradevatamapannah Surakarya Chikirshaya Samudra Nigrahadini Chakre Viryanyatah Param Naradevatamapannah Surakarya Chikirshaya Samudra Nigrahadini Chakre Viryanyata
चक्रे वीर्याण्यथा परम् नरदेवतमापन्नः सुरकार्या चिकीर्षया समुद्रनिग्रहादीनि चक्रे वीर्याण्यतः परम् नरदेवतमापन्नः सुराकार्या चिकीर्षया समुद्रनिग्रहादीनि चक्रे वीर्याण्यतः परम् नरा
human being, devatvam, divinity, apanaha, having assumed the form of Sura, the demigods, Karya, activities, Chikirshaya, for the purpose of performing, Samudra, the Indian Ocean, Nigraha Adini, controlling, etc. Chakre, did perform. Viryani, superhuman prowess. Ataparam, thereafter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Ram in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist king Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. Kind of repeat after me. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheistic king Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. Purport. The personality of Godhead, Sri Rama, assumed the form of a human being and appeared on the earth for the purpose of doing some pleasing work for the demigods and or the administrative personalities to maintain the order of the universe. Sometimes great demons and atheists like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu and many others become very famous due to advancing material civilization by the help of material science and other activities with a spirit of challenging the established order of the Lord. For example, the attempt to fly to other planets by material means is a challenge to the established order. The conditions of each and every planet are different, and different classes of human beings are accommodated there for particular purposes mentioned in the codes of the Lord. But puffed up by tiny success in material advancement, sometimes the godless materialists challenge the existence of God. Ravana was one of them, and he wanted to deport ordinary men to the planet of Indra, heaven, by material means, without consideration of the necessary qualifications. He wanted a staircase to be built up directly, reaching the heavenly planet, so that people might not be required to undergo the routine of pious work necessary to enter that planet. He also wanted to perform other acts against the established rule of the Lord. He even challenged the authority of Sri Ram, the personality of Godhead, and kidnapped his wife, Sita. Of course, Lord Ram came to chastise this atheist, answering the prayer and desire of the demigod. He therefore took up the challenge of Ravana, and the complete activity is the subject matter of the Ramayana. Because Lord Ramachandra was the personality of Godhead, he exhibited superhuman activities which no human being, including the materially advanced Ravana, could perform. Lord Ramachandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones that floated on the water. The modern scientists have done research in the area of weightlessness, but it is not possible to bring a weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, by which he can fit the gigantic planets, by which he can make the gigantic planets fly and float in the air, he made the stones even within this earth to be weightless, and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillars. That is the display of the power of God. Translation again. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So this morning we get to hear a little bit about the activities of yet another incarnation, more known, more popular, especially in India. Lord Ram is known throughout India, and his activities are, of course, described more elaborately in the Bhagavatam. So again, in the text, it mentions how the Lord appeared to perform superhuman activities. Prabhupada mentions how when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, because he is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has created this material world, therefore he knows how to, he knows the law of what is called weightlessness. And the purport Prabhupada mentions about established laws of nature. Yeah. People who go against the established rule of the Lord. In other words, in this material world, there is a plan and there are rules. Dharma is very much there to help us understand basic, we can say, rules or orders. It's like if we overeat, then we get sick. If you eat more than, Prabhupada explained, if you eat more than you can digest, then by the laws of nature, you have to fast so that you can, again, get well. So there are natural laws of nature which are explained and described in the Shastra. And purpose of dharma is to learn what those laws of nature are so that we can live in harmony with nature. Otherwise we end up, when we don't follow these natural laws of nature, we end up creating imbalances in nature. We end up creating irregularities and difficulties for our own selves and also for others. So the superhuman activity performed here by Lord Ramachandra is referred to here. Ravana, great demon, was living in his kingdom. Where is the kingdom of Ravana? Huh?
Lanka. Lanka.
Speak louder.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. Is that what you said?
Now is Sri Lanka, before is Lanka.
Yeah. So, yes, Sri Lanka is how many kilometers from India? Anyone know? Anyway, it's a good distance. And that whole story is there of Ravana having kidnapped Lord Ramachandra's consort, Mother Sita. And in order to actually go to Sri Lanka from India, then with the help of Hanuman and so many monkey friends, they built,
Sugriva, Jamba.
yes, Sugriva, they built a floating bridge. Actually, people cannot, ordinary people cannot believe that one can make rocks float. Ordinary people cannot believe that somebody can lift a hill. I mean, but some few years ago, now because of technology, from satellites, they can take pictures of what is inside the earth. And they have published a series of pictures that show under the water, under the Indian Ocean, a connection connecting India with Sri Lanka. Just like a few years ago also, because there were many temples, some of them are still existing today, outside of India, that were built when the Vedic culture was very much present. So in what is called the kingdom, previously it was only kingdoms. The kingdom, just like Nepal also referred to as the kingdom of Nepal, the kingdom of Thailand, the kingdom of Cambodia, and those were ruled by Kshatriya, Vedic kings actually, Kshatriyas. So a few years ago there's one mountain in Cambodia that is called Mount Kulen. And it has been accepted as a place, a pious place, where many people go to meditate. And they recently discovered that actually under that mountain there is like huge temple complex also. So when people are fortunate to be governed by saintly kings, then within society, as it was before, there were so many, because in a pious society, people on a daily basis, they go to temples. And those who are saintly kings, one of the activities is to build temples so that people can take darshan of the Lord on a daily basis and engage in various activities. So it means that actually in so many places around the world, there used to be such places as worship because people they were following dharma. So when that is, when dharma is not followed, then these places of worship, just like Prabhupada, when visiting Western countries, he came to know, he observed personally that so many churches were empty. And as a matter of fact, our devotees in different countries purchased temples and made them into Hare Krishna temple. Yeah. In Canada, for example, at least two big temples in Canada, in Toronto, and also in Montreal. They were churches before. Because maybe even 50 years ago, 70 years ago, people naturally were more pious. That is the sign of the advancement of Kali Yuga, the incarnation of Kalki Avatar is one of the incarnations that will be described after a few days, that is coming up. So with the advancement of Kali Yuga, one of the symptoms is that there are less churches, less places of worship, because people are engaged in adharmic activities. So, therefore, when such activities of adharma become too prominent, then the Lord appears, as He did through these different incarnations, to correct the situation, to re-establish the principles of dharma. So, so we'll read this again here. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So what other activities did Lord Ramachandra perform that were extraordinary?
He only one wife in the life.
Extraordinary.
He had only one wife.
Eka Patni Vrata.
Ekapatni
Vrata.
Vrata. Ekapatni Vrata. Yes, in many ways, here in India, Lord Ramachandra in many ways is more popular than Krishna because Krishna had many wives. And most people misunderstand, especially when they come to know that in the Shastra it is mentioned that Krishna had 16,108 wives. So, yes, Lord Ramachandra is very much revered, worshipped, and honored by, I would say, especially grihastas, because anyone who enters into householder life understands how it's not at all easy life. And they very much appreciate and therefore worship Lord Ramachandra for having been a very strong and ideal husband. He was ideal husband as well as ideal ruler. And it's very nicely described in the Bhagavatam, well, more so in the Ramayana, which is the whole story of Lord Ramachandra, how all the residents of Ayodhya, King Dasarath was getting older, and he had 4 sons, of which Ram was the eldest, so naturally he wanted to enthrone him as a king. Anyway, the whole intrigue story is there, that at the day before the coronation, he, King Dasarath, was forced actually to change his plans and and to ban actually his eldest son Ram for how many years? 14 years.
14.
14 years exile. That's a long time to be in exile. But it's nicely described how the residents of Ayodhya were so so attached to Lord Ramachandra that when he voluntarily accepted to leave, because he was, such an obedient son, and accepted as, that's a very important example for all of us, the what we call providence. Providence means by higher arrangement, so many things happen to all of us on a daily basis actually, that we don't plan for. Definitely he was not planning to leave Ayodhya, but he accepted that as the superior, what we call superior arrangement, providence. What's another word for providence? Destiny. Destiny. What does destiny mean? We are, the word to be destined. We are destined to be in this life either very rich or very poor, or in between. Most people are in between. Of course, nowadays the difference between those who are very, very rich and those who are very, very poor is becoming more prominent. The rich people are becoming more rich and the poor people are becoming more poor. So destiny, a very interesting concept which is very much part of the Vedic culture and very much absent in modern day culture. In the Vedic culture, because people know about dharma, they more easily accept that by destiny is connected with karma. Isn't it? Destiny is based on the result of our previous activities. If we have performed very good activities, very pious activities in our previous life, then we will get good results. We will have a healthy body. We will have maybe some good intelligence. We will be having sufficient wealth or money. These are results of good activities, so according to destiny. And if we have done the opposite, then opposite will come as well. So in the Vedic culture, people by nature understood about reincarnation. People by nature understood that we lived before having this. So in this way, Lord Ramachandra, he accepted, although generally very difficult, impossible actually for most people to accept this kind of seemingly, injustice. Yeah. And when Lord Ramachandra left the kingdom to go to exile, all the people of Ayodhya wanted to follow him. Actually, they did for some time also. Yeah. But then he sent everybody back. Otherwise, not very. I think some number of them stayed with him. So it means that actually there are so many wonderful advantages, both material and spiritual, when we follow dharma, and when we here once again in the purport, Prabhupada is referring to dharma as the established rule of the Lord. There are laws of nature. Dharma actually is also translated as law. In ordinary society, every country has different laws. When we go against the law established by a government, then if we are going in a car and the sign says maximum speed 80 kilometers an hour, but people go 100 or 120, then we are breaking the law, for which we can get reaction. Usually we get fined, we have to pay money like that. So the whole world is based on different laws, we call laws of nature, many of which are subtle. We cannot so easily see or understand them. But it is the responsibility in the human form of life to actually learn about these different laws. You see. For example, when one is younger, young boys and young girls, they uh, they should learn so many things when they are young because that will help them in their future life. They should be what is called regulated. And although it is not so easy, but this is part of the discipline that is meant to be there. And it begins with, again, rising early in the morning. Rising early in the morning. And like this, there are so many regulations that if one is fortunate to have parents who are following these principles of dharma, then the children automatically will also be learning about them. So, any questions or comments on our verse today? Okay. Jai Granthara Bhagavatam Ki Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki. Oh, okay.